In September 2022, Viking guests, staff, officers, and crew gathered in Amsterdam to celebrate the naming of Viking's first two expedition ships, Viking Octantis and Viking Polaris. The ships were named by their godmothers, renowned explorers and educators Liv Arneson and Anne Bancroft. The celebration was made even more special as it marked 25 years since the founding of Viking. Amidst the festivities, the event closed with yet another milestone. For the first time ever, 3 classes of Viking ships met and sailed in a special convoy. During my visit to Amsterdam, I had the opportunity to meet with Jørn Henriksen, Director of Expedition Operations, to learn more about Viking's extraordinary expedition ships. After a brief walk around the ship, we stopped by my favorite spot on board, Mamsen's, to chat before venturing down to the hangar to learn about the many innovations and options on board for exploring remote regions. Could I have a little taste of that wonderful Norwegian cheese?
Brunost.
Thank you. That's my favorite.
I'll go for the same. I'll never say no to brunost.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So yeah, as a Norwegian, I feel at home here. Because you can get that brown caramelized
I love it.
cheese.
And I haven't found it in Washington, D.C.
No, I don't think, you have to call me and I'll
Supply my addiction.
Ship something to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's very particular Norwegian, and other things they serve here is also hand-picked, being Norwegian.
Well,
And it's things that Mamsen would have served.
the matriarch of the
Yes,
family.
Exactly.
It's all part of to me, the design, everything that Viking has done from the very beginning is unapologetically Norwegian inspired. And to me, that makes it very family-like, very personal.
And, it's one of the things that we're known for it across our fleet, that there's a lineage of Norwegian heritage that we want to take care of, and we have Norwegian flag on this ship as well, as with the ocean liners that we have. So we represent the largest fleet with Norwegian flag.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And
Proudly.
proudly, yes.
Very proudly.
Yes, and our owner and his family being Norwegian, it's very, very important that we take care of that heritage in a proper way, and especially on an expedition ship.
I was going to say that leads into your role and how Vikings really redefined, and that's not a marketing word. They have redefined what an expedition means in Antarctica and the Arctic and the Great Lakes. Tell me, from your more expert perspective than mine, what are the highlights, the things that we do differently now on this ship?
On this ship
and Octantis.
We kind of go all the way back to the time when Eric the Red had to flee Iceland to Greenland, and his son sailed from Greenland up the Baffin Bay and down the coast of Baffin, coast of Labrador, and down to Newfoundland, or
what year
what we know as
talking?
Newfoundland. We're talking about 1,000 years ago, and Leif Erikson finding the North American continent for the first time. And that is exactly in areas where it would be natural to operate a modern expedition ship today. And then jumping almost 1,000 years forward until the heroic era of polar expeditions, represented by Nansen, Fridtjof Nansen, the Norwegian, Roald Amundsen, Robert Falcon Scott, Ernest Shackleton, and others. Just a handful, really, but there are some really famous names.
Were most of those explorers Norwegian or British at that time? Was that
Yes.
the primary competition?
Yeah, well, it became
Yeah.
a primary competition, probably fostered by both these nations being seafaring nations. But as Roland Huntford, an English historian that have written a lot about Scott, Shackleton, Amundsen, when he is explaining how Amundsen succeeded reaching the South Pole and how Scott failed reaching the South Pole, he explains it as Norway being a seafaring nation, UK being a seafaring nation. They could both reach the starting point on the edge of the Ross Ice Shelf in Antarctica with their ships, and they did. However, the last bit in, traversing through the trans-Antarctic mountains up on the plateau of the Antarctic continent, suddenly the Norwegians had a little bit of an advantage because we're used to snow and traveling across ice and skiing and so on. So at least that's Roland Huntford's partial explanation why Amundsen succeeded.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
He definitely had the advantage on the snow, but
Well,
both of them made it there.
well, and obviously Amundsen was a very single-minded personality, and he would not give up. So there are many different perspectives to look at those expeditions, and what Scott did was absolutely tremendous as well.
I've said it before, but every touch point on the ship has a story, and those stories apply to expeditions.
Yes.
Tell me some of the very exciting new things that have been introduced on Octantis and Polaris.
Octantis and Polaris are expedition ships built from the very ground as expedition ships. Sometimes you will see vessels sailing some of the same areas that these ships. Ships built for originally another purpose, converted into something that works. However, this ship has been built from the ground up, where purpose has been sort of the design criteria number one. So our purpose is to go to areas far away, without port facilities, without infrastructure, with challenging waters, either that be crossing areas with waves and wind or icy waters. And then when we get there, we want to be self-sufficient. Self-sufficient in providing valuable experiences to the guests on board. We want to be self-sufficient coming ashore, coming back to the ship with our own crafts. We want to be self-sufficient if anything dictates us having to change plans. We have a lot of redundancies in every system on board, and we can handle changes very efficiently. And changes, particularly in polar regions where you have ice and more temperamental weather, you really just have to be prepared for it. And as far as I'm concerned, it's just another aspect then of the experience.
The adventure of every day.
Exactly. So you will experience changes on every voyage in one way or another. But changes that we are prepared for, and we adapt to the conditions at hand.
Well,
you have to have a bit of a pragmatic nature, where we, with our ocean ships, have port bookings. You will know as a guest that you come to Amsterdam 8 o'clock in the morning, and that we leave at perhaps 6 o'clock. You will also get that information, and you will know that with an expedition ship, but you will also learn that it might take a little bit longer going ashore, depending on conditions, and we might stay a little bit longer. we'll just adapt to the conditions at hand.
You also didn't mention, but I know you'll probably show us, it's purpose-built for primary scientific research and
Yes,
scientists on
yes.
board, that guests can participate in some, but that is continuing scientific experimentation. And to dedicate
Yes.
that kind of space
Yeah.
on a passenger ship seems very rare to me.
Yeah, it's quite rare, but it's not a very difficult decision, because what we do with science is that we do it, but we also involve and invite the guests to participate. So we try to take sort of the abstract part out of science and invite our guests to be part of the field experiments and to be part of that, sort of to do some of the basic work of science, and then also bring that into our laboratory, do the first analysis and learn how we bring that on and into the scientific community ashore with our partners, and then see how that generates papers and output and hypotheses and so on, that we can on the next voyage perhaps go out and try to verify or falsify. You know, it's really kind of an interesting process. So it's a way of engaging guests in science to gain knowledge, and science helps us understand and appreciate the nature we're sailing through, and really science as an activity is really eye-opener.
To me, it's the chance to immerse in something I wouldn't normally be studying, but to see how it happens and participate would, I imagine, awaken a whole new sense in a lot of us. This is something very significant.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is an immersion into the expedition at whatever level the guest wants to have it.
Exactly, and the beauty of it is, you know, if you want to sit in Namsen the whole day and have
eat cheese.
Waffles and brown cheese, you can do that, and nobody will downgrade your marks because you were not in the lab at noon.
I still think the first place we met, Expedition Central, is such a quantum change, because I know as a guest on other expeditions and speaking to other guests, when you have the experts on board, you don't want to bother them when they're not lecturing, but to know that you can drop in and they're there for you really creates a much more congenial, interactive atmosphere, and exactly. I love that. Exactly. So,
but you know, on board, every expert is available to everyone on board at any time. Anytime you see them walk past, you know, sometimes we say, if we're going somewhere to a meal as an expert on board an expedition ship, if you're going through a public space and you think it's going to take 10 minutes, set aside half an hour.
It's good. It's all about the guest being able to have access to them, which is just an access none of us would have otherwise.
Yeah. And you know, we're here because we love communicating these things, and
I can tell.
Yeah.
I can tell. I want to switch. Tell me what left you in awe on Octantis in the last season on one of your sailings. Did some moment leave you in awe? I mean, you'd been involved in the design, involved in the birth of these ships, but what down there just left you
well,
breathless?
There was a number of things. There was a number of things that left me in awe. You know, the pure capability of the ship, the comfort sailing across the Drake's Passage. We're sailing from South America to the Antarctic Peninsula twice every voyage on our Antarctic expeditions, and that patch of water is, you know, sometimes we have what we call the Drake's Shake, and sometimes we have the Drake Lake.
I think that's the one thing most guests who haven't booked are concerned about, is the Drake crossing. We've all heard about it, and I understand there's certain things on this ship that will make it smoother. We can never guarantee a Drake Lake.
No, we can't, but
tell me,
compared to any other ship I've been on board, there is less reason for that concern on board this ship compared
That's
to any other
very
ship I've been on
important.
board, because we have water ballast in U tanks, we call them, and the length and the hydrodynamics emphasize and help us having an exceptionally stable ship. And we don't have that much of a wind catch in the superstructure
design
as
of
well.
it. Okay.
So I think, I've never sailed across the Drake's Passage in such comfort as I did with Octantis last year.
Very important to hear, because I think that may be the one thing that keeps people that are very anxious to explore from going to Antarctica.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. However, I think for the experience, sailing from South America to the Antarctic Peninsula is important, because it also becomes a rite of passage.
I was just going to use those words. It does. I think any traveler wants to experience it as the gateway to the Antarctic.
Yes, and you also get to understand, because you have a circumpolar cold water current protecting the Antarctic continent. So it's kind of climatically it's isolating the Antarctic continent. And you get to sail through that transitional area where you come down to 50, 60 degrees from administration. The Antarctic Treaty kicks in at 60 degrees.
At 60
south.
degrees.
Yes. However, around there, and it depends a little bit on where you are in longitude, you will find the Antarctic convergence zone, which you don't want to miss.
No, you don't.
Because it's so important for all life, for why Antarctica is a cold continent, and once you get through the Antarctic, it might be a little bit foggy there, but once you get through it, it opens up, and you will start seeing your first icebergs, and that is an experience you will never forget, and you can only enjoy it by
sailing,
doing that exact crossing. Yeah,
I think you've put a lot of people at ease that are considering it. It is the design, and it's state of the art currently, and which makes this a more comfortable expedition.
Yes.
Although comfort isn't my primary goal, I love all the Viking comforts on board. And even though Viking never likes to use the word luxury, this is luxury. I mean, it truly is my luxury. It's the refined, quiet elegance, the relaxing design, and then you put all the expedition, which we haven't even seen a lot of it, on top of it.
Well,
Jim.
I totally agree with you, and probably comfort and also luxury is also in the eye of the beholder. To some people, sailing with a small boat or a kayak into a patch of drifting ice, shutting off the outboard engine and just enjoying the silence.
That is my luxury.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I read that your kayaks are pedal kayaks, so you are pedaling but just there, it's got to be one of the life-changing experiences to be in that part of the world.
Yeah, as a modern human being, silence and tranquility in nature is a scarce resource, so we'll provide a lot of that on our voyages.
I think that's the perfect summary. It is a scarce resource, and there is a lot of it here. Now, thank you. Oh, look, it's Charlie. Hey, Charlie. And Karina.
Charlie. Hey!
Hey, Finsa. Oh, we love it. I was hoping. Hi, guys. Hi, Finsa.
I'm going to be off for a little bit, but I'll be around.
Oh, good.
Hey.
Hi. Hi.
You're welcome. Yeah, welcome to the hangar.
Okay, so this is Operation Central.
Exactly. This is, some call it the heart of the ship. It's debatable because some would say the bridge is the heart. We're in the other end of the ship towards the aft.
But this is how we explore.
Definitively, and this space is really what sets this ship apart. We have our equipment for going off the ship in isolated areas without infrastructure. So we have a number of military-grade Zodiacs, 17 in total on board. And we have 2 special operations boats.
Okay, I've been on several expedition ships, but I've never seen a special operation boat.
This is unique. Nobody else has these boats.
No, I've never seen one.
No, and the reason we've chosen to have them is that it provides a very safe experience, and it opens up for an off-ship experience, as we call it, for so many more people. Because these ones you enter inside the hangar.
In here.
Yes.
Quiet and stable.
Quiet and stable, there's no moving about. And then it slides down this slipway.
Oh, I see this.
Through the hatch in the back.
Wow.
And then you are out at sea. And then you drive around, do your scenic tour around the icebergs. And then the wheels of the slipway picks up the hull of the boat, pulls you back on board, and you can disembark dry-footed and go back into the ship.
I mean, this is just unheard of in the expedition ships.
If there's anything that can compare, it is some military ships have this. If they have teams on board that are going to go out in a hurry and come back in a hurry, they have a similar technology.
So this was copied from a military technology.
Yeah, this is pure military technology, but adapted for our civilian purpose, and we have some of the same requirements. However, we're on a very peaceful mission.
Very peaceful. Would you also use this if the seas were too rough to take a Zodiac? So not just for those that can't get in the Zodiacs, but it gives you a wider breadth of when you can have an excursion.
Exactly. That's one of the beauties, because when we have to take in all the other smaller crafts that we have, because they are rated to a certain sea state, these can keep on going for a long time, so that widens the operational window, which is a point of its own.
Once you've made it down to Antarctica.
Yeah. So these ones, even though it has only 12 passenger seats by 24 we can have out, they would come in and exchange, and they're going out a little bit offset of each other, so we have a constant flow. But they have a tremendous capacity. And also, even if this ship transits from one place to another, we can operate these and follow the ship and so on. So, it has proven exceptionally, both helpful in terms of giving everybody a good opportunity for an exceptional experience of the ship.
We won't talk expense, but the expense to put something like this technology in, at the expense of other cabins, other issues, shows the dedication to expedition, shows the dedication to an experience that guarantees you will.
That's the main purpose. Obviously, up front, it's an expense both in terms of volume of the ship, the space we have to use, but also the pure procurement cost is high. However, our criteria is to be operational, and we don't want downtime, and we have to have sturdy equipment, because there's no one to call if it breaks down. We have to be completely self-sufficient, and that's the whole point with everything we got. It needs to be sort of industrial quality. So this space is also a space where guests can come. And we will stagger groups here waiting for their ride. And in Viking we have this concept of privileged access on some of our tours. And being able to come here and be behind the scenes in a way.
Oh, it's absolutely privileged access.
It's kind of our interpretation of privileged access on board a ship. Well, we can take a peek around the corner here. We have made 2 kind of separate hangars, closed hangars for the submarines. And that is simply because the submarines are a little bit more sensitive than everything else. For example, that transparent sphere is made of a kind of a plexiglass, because it needs to have some flexibility in it. So when you come down, it's pressurized, or the pressure, and so so it has some flexibility. In the old days, even dive watches was made with that same type of material to have that flexibility. So especially though that glass, we don't want any scratches on it and so on. And sometimes we cover them up to protect them. And this is also a space where they can dry it, they can clean it, freshwater clean it. They can refill the air tanks. We have 96 hours of 96 hours of air in the boats, and we can do all the maintenance needed. So it's a closed space, and we have a full sub team that are totally concentrating on this.
I look forward to being in one, but you didn't mention the most important thing. It's a yellow submarine.
It's a yellow submarine, yes.
This is Ringo.
Exactly.
George is over there.
Yes.
And I understand John and Paul are on Octantis.
Exactly, of course.
Bravo, Torhagen. You just have to smile.
Yes. We tried to have that discussion, which color are they going to have, and it was short-circuited to a very short discussion when our owner came into the room. So we're very happy having yellow submarines.
I love it.
It's
with
very charming.
A wink and a nod.
Very charming. Yes.
It certainly speaks to me.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes.
What's up here?
Those are the kayaks.
Okay.
So we have 14 guest kayaks, 14 double kayaks on board, and 2 guide kayaks. And those are what is called sit on top. So we embark the kayaks from the Zodiac on the water.
Oh.
Yeah, so we don't start from the ship, we don't start from the shore normally.
Right,
but
from a Zodiac.
Yeah, from a Zodiac.
Okay, I'll get to try that.
Yeah, you get to try that. And those boats we have chosen because they have a very high primary stability, so that they don't tip over very easily. You can simply sit down into the seat in the kayak and paddle away from the Zodiac. And we always have a Zodiac as a support boat to that operation as well.
Oh, good.
Yes. And,
but I like the paddling kayak.
Yes.
So then your hands are free to photograph.
Yeah, exactly. And also we bring paddles.
In case.
Yeah. And sometimes it actually differs a little bit depending, it's condition dependent. Sometimes it's a better experience actually using the paddles. Sometimes it's a better experience using the pedals. Yeah. But they're an amazing craft, and I think the most important with the kayaking, apart from it being the traditional way Inuits traveled, it is this proximity to the water. You're right at the surface.
Oh.
It's a silent way of moving, and you can really take in whatever nature has to offer.
I can't wait. That to me is really going to be my experience.
Yes.
I feel like guests are going to be so reassured hearing the features and how they can explore Antarctica now. But just thank you for sharing your expertise and your time with us.
Well, thank you for your visit, and you're welcome. I look forward to sailing with you again.
I know you won't be in Antarctica with me, but we'll sail together soon, maybe
you
in
never
the Great
know.
Lakes.
No, I have some really good reasons for going
I
to
hope you
Antarctica.
change your mind. But thank you so much.
A pleasure.